Okay, here are the story problems that go with section 6.2. Let's read this first one. It says, a straight road leads from an ocean beach to a constant upward angle of 3 degrees. So here's your 3-degree angle right here. How high above the sea level is the road at a point 1 mile? 1 mile is 5,280 feet from the beach. So we want to know this height right here. Knowing that this is 3 degrees, how high is, what's the height above sea level? So from here to here. So what trig ratio will you use knowing that this is 3 degrees and knowing these two sides? No, you're trying to find this side, you know what, that the hypotenuse is 5,280. What trig ratio are you going to use? Sine. Tell me what to write.
Sine 3 equals h.
Sine of 3 degrees is the height over the hypotenuse. How do you do this now? You're going to multiply. Make sure your calculator's in degree mode. So you're going to hit 5,280 times the sine of 3. And your answer, does anyone have it yet? Yep, 276.3. And that would be feet. Next one. According to the safety sticker on a 20-foot ladder, so the ladder's 20 feet, the distance from the bottom of the ladder to the base of the wall in which it leans should be 1/4 of the length of the ladder. So in this case, 5 feet. 1/4 of that is 5 feet. So, we want to know how high up the wall will the ladder reach? How would you figure this height right here? If you know that the ladder's 20 feet, and this has to be 1/4 of this distance. So 1/4 of 20 is your 5 feet. How would you figure this height right here, knowing that you have a 90-degree angle? What? Yep. So the Pythagorean theorem, how high up the wall will the ladder reach? So for A, you're going to do h squared, your 2 legs squared added together is equal to the hypotenuse squared. How do you solve this? Square 20, you get 400. 5 squared is 25. Subtract 25. Now take the square root. Now when you take the square root, you get a plus or minus, but you can't have a negative dimension. This is just going to be 19. You're going to get rid of the negative number, so 19.36 feet. Then question B says, if the ladder is in this position, what angle does it make with the ground? So they want this angle. How would you figure this angle out? Now we know all 3 sides. So we get to pick between sine, cosine, and tangent. Would you use 19 point, we just figured this out. Would you use this? You could, but I wouldn't. What would be the reason to not use that? Well, in case you made a math error. Let's say we made a math error. Then guess what? Your answer's gonna be wrong. So I would stick with these 2 measurements right here because these are given to you. What trig ratio will you use to figure this angle out knowing these 2 sides? Cosine of some angle is equal to the side adjacent over the hypotenuse. How do you type this in your calculator? How do you find the angle whose adjacent to hypotenuse is a 5:20 ratio? You want this right there in your calculator. Now on the inspires, how do you do that? You're going to hit trig, and it's that button right there, cosine, and then 5 over 12. Enter. And I got 6.
5 over 20 divided by 20.
Oh, I put 12. I don't know why I put 12. That's supposed to be 20. Trig. Sorry, my bad. Trig is right on. Do you see the trig button? Right here? Right here.
Oh,
Trig,
Trig.
5, enter, 75, it's 75.5 degrees.
I don't know. That's kind of sad. You show up to regionals for Mikey. Oh, yeah.
Okay, the next thing. Angle of elevation and depression. Okay, in many applications, the angle between a horizontal line and another line is used, such as, if you wanna look for the site across like a road. The angle of elevation, you think of your horizontal, angle of elevation, you go up, angle of depression, you're going down. So here's your angle of elevation. Now remember, if they talk about angle of elevation, sometimes you'll be drawing something and you gotta know that if they say the angle of elevation is 10 degrees, this would also be 10 degrees right here. If they talk about the angle of depression of something, you gotta understand that this angle will also, these two angles will be the same. So they may wanna know what this is, and then also think of subtracting something from 90. So if they give you this angle, to figure this one out, subtract it from 90. Okay, so here we go. Example 7. A flagpole casts a 60-foot shadow. So here's your flagpole, and there's the shadow. It's 60 feet from here to here. When the angle of elevation of the sun is 35 degrees, so they gave you the angle of elevation, 35. How do you figure out the height of the flagpole? What is it? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Tangent of 35 is the hypotenuse over the adjacent. Opposite over adjacent, and then cross multiply. You're gonna get 42.01. Yep, I'm sorry. So opposite over adjacent. Example 6. A wire needs to reach from the top of a building to the bottom on the ground, to a point. They're going to ask you how long this wire is. How long should it be? It says the building is 10 meters tall. So from here to here it's 10. And the angle of depression from the top of the building to a point on the ground, this is 22 degrees. So which means this angle is also 22 degrees. And it means this angle is 68 degrees. How did I figure 68? Because that's a 90-degree angle. 90 minus 22 is 68. That's how I figured that out. So if we want to figure out what this side is, this hypotenuse, you can use this angle, this side, and this side, or you could use this angle, cosine. So what do you like better? Sine or cosine? I like sine. Sine of 22 is equal to 10 over x. If you did cosine, it would read cosine of 68 is adjacent. Either one, you'll get 26.69. And the last example you're going to do. A person is on the edge of a canal and they observe a lamppost on the other side. The angle of elevation, so here's the person's eyesight, right there. The angle of elevation, so you would draw a horizontal line. The angle of elevation to the top of the lamppost is 12 degrees. And to the bottom, the angle of depression, so from here to here is 7 degrees. So with that, you would be able to figure out a lot of stuff. They tell you that this person's eyesight is 152 centimeters, which means from here to here is also 152. They're asking you two things. How wide is this canal? So, how do you figure this? We'll call this X. If this is 7 degrees, what's this angle right here? 83. Good job. If this is 7 degrees, this is also 7. So what trig ratio do you like? Do you want to do what? You want to find this side. I would use tangent. I would say the tangent of 7 is opposite over adjacent. So 152 over X. How do you find X? 152 divided by tangent of 7, and you get 1,237.95. So the canal is 1,237.95
What was it?
centimeters. Here to here is 1,237.95 centimeters. So now we're trying to figure out this height right here. So we know this is 152, and we know from here to here is 1,000, from here to here is 1,237.95. So we are missing this height right here. We'll call that Y. So what we're going to do is use 12, Y, and that. So tangent of 12 is Y over 1,237.95. Cross multiply, whoops, 37.95. Y ends up being 263.13. So this is 263.13. How would you figure out how tall this pole is? Add these two up. If you add those two up, you get 415.13. That is a typical ACT question. So, for homework tonight on the trig stuff, don't do 1 through 4 yet. We're going to do them tomorrow. I want you to just do the first 5 in the homework. You're going to do 37, 39, 41, 43, and 45. So you're going to do 5 trig problems, practicing. It's just like these notes. And I want you to do those 15 multiple choice and 10 Kaplan. And you have